You know that feeling when a company completely pulls the rug out from under the entire tech industry? That is exactly what Nikon is doing right now, and the internet is losing its mind. Everyone is panicking because rumors indicate they are pushing the highly anticipated Z9 Mark II all the way back to 2027. The forums are absolutely flooded with skeptics claiming that this delay is a massive sign of weakness. They say Nikon is losing ground, lagging behind, and failing to keep up with the rapid release cycles of its biggest rivals. But if you think this delay means Nikon is struggling, you completely misunderstand how this company operates. History tells us a completely different story. Every single time Nikon pulls back, goes quiet, and executes a total architectural reset, they change the entire camera ecosystem forever. We saw it years ago when the legendary D3 completely destroyed the high ISO market overnight, leaving competitors scrambling for answers. We saw it again when the original Z9 shocked the world by completely abandoning the mechanical shutter, a move that critics boldly said was impossible for a true professional flagship. Now, the leaked specifications for the Z9 Mark II point to an engineering shift so aggressive that it makes the current Sony and Canon flagships look like transitional prototypes. The global supply chain is in absolute chaos over this pushed release date because the industry knows exactly what is coming. When you dig through the manufacturing pipeline chatter, cross-reference sensor patterns, and look at what Nikon is pulling off with their recent acquisition of Red Digital Cinema, the picture becomes incredibly clear. Nikon is not just trying to build a slightly better camera body. They are trying to rewrite the rules of visual media entirely, and the competition is absolutely terrified. Let us look closely at the raw data coming out of the manufacturing pipeline to understand why this delay is happening. The source channels over at Nikon Rumors have been incredibly adamant about one specific fact. This massive timeline shift is entirely tied to the deep, native integration of Red Digital Cinema technology. Nikon did not spend millions of dollars acquiring Red just to slap a glossy new logo onto an existing menu system or add a simple picture profile. According to highly credible, translated engineering leaks from Digicam Info, Nikon is completely redesigning the internal logic boards from scratch. The goal is to allow a hybrid mirrorless body to natively process REDCODE RAW data directly on the main sensor processor. Stop and think about that for a second. We are talking about a standard-sized camera body recording mathematically lossless, Hollywood-grade cinema format straight onto internal CFexpress cards without an external recorder. The processing overhead required for that kind of real-time data management is absolutely mind-boggling. If you try to process that massive amount of information without melting the mainboard, you need a fundamentally new chip architecture. Multiple pipeline sources are pointing directly to an unannounced Expeed 8 processor. This next-generation chip is reportedly utilizing heavily optimized TSMC 3nm silicon yields. By shrinking the architecture down to 3 nanometers, Nikon wants to maximize data throughput while actively fighting the brutal thermal throttling that plagues almost every other high-end hybrid camera on the market today. Critics might call this a spec sheet flex, but the experts at DP Review have noted for years how stagnant the flagship market was getting before the original Z9 dropped. By baking red color science and compressed raw codecs directly into the Z9 Mark II, Nikon is systematically destroying the need for expensive third-party external recorders. You get a seamless, Hollywood-ready workflow right out of the box, completely bypassing the massive hardware tax that usually forces professionals to buy dedicated, bulky cinema bodies for serious client work. Of course, this massive leap forward raises a serious practical question for everyone working in the creative field today. Are any of you actually planning to edit 8K Red RAW natively on your current laptop or desktop setups? Or is this massive jump in video technology going to force every single creator to go out and buy a brand new, maxed-out editing rig from Cupertino just to handle basic timeline playback? That kind of data workflow sounds incredibly heavy for an average solo operator, and it is going to change how we think about post-production storage and computing power entirely. But the innovation does not stop at the processing chip. Let us talk about the sensor itself, which is the beating heart of this entire system. Camera Beta over on Weibo leaked early production specifications suggesting that Nikon is sticking to a familiar resolution territory somewhere in the 45 to 50 megapixel range. However, the internal architecture of the silicon is completely different from anything we have seen before in a consumer hybrid. We are looking at a next-generation, ultra-fast scan stacked CMOS design. The teams at CNAD recently discussed how this specific type of sensor design can eliminate rolling shutter artifacts entirely. This pushes flash sync speeds into an entirely new territory that completely mimics a true global shutter, all without suffering the severe dynamic range penalties and low light noise degradation that we currently see on competing global shutter cameras. Nikon watched their competitors jump headfirst into global shutter technology and decided they could achieve the exact same zero distortion results without sacrificing image quality. Their method is simply reading out a standard, high dynamic range stacked sensor at an absurdly high speed. It is a massive flex of pure engineering muscle, proving that software and readout speeds can overcome physical hardware limitations. But getting the silicon right is only half the battle because a high-speed sensor is only as good as its autofocus system. The predictive autofocus algorithms that Nikon recently debuted in their firmware updates are being completely rewritten to take full advantage of the Expeed 8 architecture. Mirrorless Rumors has been tracking the absolute panic in competing engineering camps regarding this new predictive AI system. Instead of just relying on standard pattern recognition and basic eye tracking like older mirrorless systems, this new architecture calculates the exact vector trajectory and physical velocity of a moving subject in real time. Imagine you are a professional wildlife shooter tracking a fast-moving bird diving through a dense, chaotic forest canopy. The camera does not just follow the bird frame by frame, it calculates exactly where the bird will appear next amidst the branches and pre-focuses at that exact spatial coordinate before the subject even arrives. High-profile tech outlets like New Shooter and Petapixel have both praised Nikon's recent software leaps, but doing this type of heavy vector mathematics at a blistering 120 frames per second requires dedicated neural processing hardware that simply does not exist in the original Z9. Nikon is building an artificial intelligence engine that anticipates human and animal movement with terrifying accuracy. This brings us directly to the physical redesign of the camera chassis itself, which is where the engineering truly shines. When you build a machine around heavy Hollywood video codecs and massive continuous raw photo burst rates, heat dissipation becomes your ultimate bottleneck. You absolutely cannot put a noisy, battery-draining mechanical fan inside a flagship photography body that needs to maintain perfect weather sealing in torrential downpours or desert sandstorms. Professional shooters will not tolerate a camera that compromises on durability. Translated patent filings shared by EOS HD show a highly sophisticated, passive graphite cooling structure being built directly into the magnesium alloy frame. This advanced thermal matrix pulls destructive heat away from the sensor and the processors, dispersing it cleanly and evenly through the physical metallic exterior body of the camera. If they nail this thermal management system, the Z9 Mark II instantly becomes the ultimate daily driver for high-end commercial shooters who need to bounce instantly between a massive billboard photo campaign and a high-stakes 8K video commercial without ever worrying about a shutdown screen. This entire delay strategy is incredibly calculated, deliberate, and precise. Andrea over at Sony Alpha Rumors has noted how the competition is scrambling to figure out their next move because they did not expect Nikon to take this path. Nikon is willingly giving up the upcoming sports photography release cycle to guarantee they get this RED integration absolutely perfect for 2027. They refuse to release a buggy, overheating camera just to meet a quarterly financial deadline or appease impatient shareholders. When you look back at Nikon's long history, their biggest successes always come from these massive architectural gambles where they step back to leap further forward. They are building a single machine that combines the absolute best of elite sports photography with high-end cinema production, wrapping it in a tank-like body, and pricing it aggressively to completely undercut the bloated cinema camera market. The wait is going to be incredibly frustrating for people sitting on a pile of cash right now, but when the Z9 Mark II finally drops, it is going to completely rewrite the rules of what a flagship camera is actually supposed to do. My best opinion on this product is that it represents a paradigm shift. Nikon is no longer playing the standard specification war. They are creating an entirely new category of hybrid tool that merges Hollywood and photojournalism into a single workflow. Do not buy into any new camera system until we see exactly what this incredible new silicon can push. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video with your filmmaker and photographer friends, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another deep dive into the future of camera technology. Turn on all notifications because we have a lot more tech data and supply chain updates coming your way soon. Drop your thoughts in the comments below about that massive 8K workflow. Let me know if you are going to wait until 2027, and I will see you in the next one.